Our bid was always based on the Summer World Cup. Our legacy promises in terms of the cooling technology was always based on the Summer World Cup. And accordingly, we're proceeding ahead with the Summer World Cup. Having said that, I know there are members, prominent members of the international football community who have raised preferences for the Winter World Cup, whether in terms of the governing bodies or otherwise. And accordingly, what we've always said is, whatever the international football community prefers, whatever unified international football community comes up with, we're more than happy to accommodate. Having said that, regardless whether it's in the summer or the winter, the legacy promises that we've already made in terms of the cooling technology and so on and so forth will continue, summer or winter. I think realistically, if we're going to look at it, probably by 2013, 2014. Again, this is an estimate off the top of my head, but I think by then, mainly because of the international schedule. I mean, if the football community, then again, nothing's impossible. I mean, we can come to 2017, and if the international football community agrees to it and are unified, it might change. But off the top of my head, I think probably 2013, 2014 would be the most realistic deadline for it, because as everybody I'm sure appreciates, international sporting calendars in general are quite a complex issue to resolve. So it makes sense by then. I know it sounds very strange when a lot of people hear it, and the reality is it's not an orthodox organization at all. As you correctly pointed out, most international events have usually the local organizing committee in place. But we are fortunate enough to be in a very unique position, having 10 years leeway or lead time. We looked at trying to make the most out of this World Cup. And we've looked at many different models of organizing events and delivery authorities in place. And one of the ones that we were quite impressed with was the London 2012 organizing committee, or if you will, the delivery authorities that were there. You mainly had three different functions. You had the Olympic Delivery Authority, you had LOCOG, and you had the Legacy Committee as well. The only thing was there were three distinct organizations. When we looked at that, and we looked at the fact that we have a lead time of 10 years, and to make sure that we benefit the most out of this World Cup, from all our legacy promises, from all sustainability promises, it made sense to have a unified body, a governing body, that would push things, at the very least initially, towards the right way, and make sure that the legacy elements coincide perfectly with the delivery elements and the infrastructure elements, and they would coincide perfectly with the operational elements from the local organizing committee. So accordingly, we created the Supreme Committee that brought on board as board members all the major stakeholders within Qatar to ensure that, one, it eases the speed of decision-making process. So you go with all the stakeholders in your board and you hash it out there. Two, and make sure that whatever requirements that are there from the operational side, they're very quickly and efficiently communicated to the delivery authority or delivery function, while at the same time ensuring that legacy is considered from day one. From the minute you walk in, from the minute you start putting your infrastructure plans, your stadium designs, whatever other initiatives you're looking at, legacy is always considered part and parcel of all the other elements. Well, where we're at today is, to start with, of course, we've contracted with a partner to assist us in terms of the program management of all the relevant infrastructure projects. And it's actually somebody that I think most people in England might not be strangers to. It's CH2M Hill, who is part of the members of the Delivery Authority. We've gotten them on board. We've developed our overall master schedule. We've developed our stadium schedules. We've created actually two committees, two separate committees, the Legacy Committee, or subcommittees of the board. The Legacy Committee as well as the Security Committee. The Legacy Committee is chaired by His Excellency Sheikh Hamad bin Jabbar, who's he's the head of the Statistics Authority, as well as being involved in many different other initiatives. And the members of the Legacy Committee are different stakeholders, from whether it's the social initiatives in Qatar, whether it's the economic initiatives in Qatar, or cultural initiatives, to ensure that, again, the Legacy Committee will oversee most of the principles, guiding policies for the legacy aspects. The Security Committee is chaired by His Excellency, the Minister of State for Internal Affairs. And again, its purpose is to ensure that we have our security plans in place from today, our security inputs for our infrastructure put in from today, and the Security Committee is in charge of basically overseeing overall security plans in place. In terms of our milestones, as I said, we've assigned CH2M Hill on board. We've assigned stakeholder agreements with all the relevant stakeholders, whether it's Qatar Rail, whether it's Ashghal, who's in charge of the transportation infrastructure in terms of causeways, highways, and streets, and so on. The purpose of the stakeholder agreement is to ensure a very clear and effective mechanism from the working group level in terms of discussions, in terms of looking at timelines, progress, requirements, and also a very clear escalation process to make sure that there's no bottlenecks at any moment in time that might affect any of the projects. As I said, the Grandmaster schedule is identified the critical paths, and of course it's a work in progress as always, but it's identified the critical paths of main projects, working on prioritizing relevant projects, and coordinating between the relevant stakeholders. We've just recently issued a tender for our first stadiums, one of our first stadiums, for the project manager and the design consultant, and awarding it will be very, very soon. In terms of the steps ahead, we're continuing now with our legacy plans, and part of what we're doing right now with the stadiums, I might digress just a little bit because it's an element that we're actually pretty happy about or pretty proud of. What we're doing with our stadiums right now, as I said, the design consultant is coming on board in a few months' time, but we've developed a business case, a business plan for the stadiums, looking not just at the stadium, but at the precinct around the stadium. In terms of what exactly do we want the stadium to be, what exactly do we want the legacy elements of the stadium to be, depending on the location that it's in. So for example, would it make sense to have the 45,000-seater stadium or 25,000-seater stadium, which means there's a modular element, or would the entire stadium be a modular element or not, depending on the requirements of the area, but also at the same time, surrounding the stadium, the precincts. Do we want retail offices? Will retail offices be supported by the community from a commercial aspect as well as a community requirement? All these different factors are being put in the business case. They'll be presented to they have been presented to the legacy committee to give us the guidance and the direction. Then the business case gets presented to the designer for them to provide the design, make sure that it fits in within the legacy requirements that we have. At the same time, the design consultant will be working closely with the security committee to ensure that the design itself is efficient from a security aspect. And we're also assigning operating consultants to come on board. Basically, the operating consultants will be providing feedback onto the design from an operating perspective as well to ensure that it's done in an efficient, or designed in an efficient way to be able to support the tournament, but also post the tournament to be able to support the needs of Qatari football or the Qatar Stars League. That is still the case, most definitely. Again, we've identified from the very beginning that 45,000-seater stadiums and then 65 and 85 for the semis and the finals are not required for Qatar. But again, in purpose of fulfilling the FIFA requirements, but at the same time leaving a legacy for Qatar to avoid white elephants, as well as providing a legacy to neighboring countries and other football-loving countries. The concept of the modular seatings that will be shipped out to the relevant countries is still going ahead, and so it's still actually part and parcel of our design. Most definitely, I think so. I mean, there's a lot of development and there's a lot of focus on the grassroots development. So you've got, for example, Aspire Academy that's actually investing a lot in grassroots development. The development in football itself is going pretty well. I mean, just recently when we won the honor of hosting the World Cup in the 2nd of December. Closely after that, Al Sadd came third in the Club World Championship, which was a great boost to us. So in terms of club football, there's a lot of development going on. There's a lot of investment going on to improve club football, and it's actually achieving quite impressive milestones continuously. With the national team, we've got a chance of qualifying for 2014. We've actually got a match against Lebanon on the 14th, and I say this with the most brotherly of love for my Lebanese brethren, but I do hope that we do win. Again, Asia is coming out in general as a very impressive region and as a very major player in world football. And accordingly, I think Qatar is gradually meeting its requirements and competing very well. So I think by 2022 we will have a team that will be able to, as you said, meet the aspirations. But I'm also confident that before 2022 we will be making an appearance in the World Cup, and a very honorable appearance as well.